Now we come to the third and fourth revelation. So after Adam and Eve, they defaulted. It wasn't that they consciously betrayed, like maybe Caligastia in the first, with the first revelation, and cut that off. These guys did their best. They erred because they are not from paradise. They are still, evolution. They're evolving in themselves. So they defaulted. They kind of added to this confusion that we have in our world. But then we were sent a special teacher. Who is that, and what is the third revelation?
Yeah. So I guess just to back up just a touch,
Yeah.
the main, I don't want to say the main, but like a huge result of Adam and Eve's default is that it severed the physical connection of this divine cooperation
Okay.
of building civilization. So until Adam and Eve, there had always been physical manifestation of the divine administration and government. And when I say physical manifestation, I'm talking about people.
Yeah.
So in the first dispensation with Caligastia and the 200, those were the 200 were physical people.
Yeah.
And then Adam and Eve, physical people, and their children were physical people.
Yeah.
Adam and Eve had a component in their genetics and their makeup that allowed them to be, what's the word? Not eternal, but they could live here for thousands and tens of thousands of years.
Okay.
Immortal.
Okay.
Okay. But their default severed that ability to take advantage of that mechanism within their bodies. And
Okay.
they lost this ability to be immortal, which is the mechanism of their default, because their function required them to actually be present on the planet.
Okay. Yeah.
And because they died, they weren't able to skillfully and strategically direct the injection of this DNA into the human gene pool. And they also weren't able to preside over this gradual uplifting of civilization as well, because there was things that they were supposed to do in that regard as well, right?
Yeah.
So that severed it, and that was again absolutely devastating for us.
Yeah.
And at about the time that they defaulted, they got a message from Jesus, saying, I know in your hearts that you didn't rebel against me. You just made a mistake. I will see you when I come to your planet, to Urantia, to Earth.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Right? And so there was always this, the deliverer is going to come from that
That's
time.
where the stories come
right?
of the Messiah, of the deliverer, right?
Yes, it started there, and that through the whole 35,000 all the way down to let's say 3000 BC, you have this thread of someone's coming. But by about 3000 BC, just everything, it's just we're talking about so great spans of time that all of this really just disappeared. All of this work of building civilization up that was supposed to be having, it just collapsed. There was nothing, and the whole religious and spiritual ideas that people had had really disintegrated as well.
Okay.
And the individual that we know as Melchizedek
Mm-hmm.
knew that Jesus was coming, and he had a pretty good idea of when, and he thought he's going to have nothing to work with when he gets here. So
Yeah.
he did what is called an emergency bestowal. This is not
Okay.
part of the usual plan. He bestowed himself on Earth in an emergency capacity so that he could get some of these ideas in place and get things going towards some sort of reception for Jesus when he got here.
Okay.
And that's the whole reason behind Melchizedek coming. He arrived here about, I think it's about 1900 BC or so. And it's the same Melchizedek that we hear about with Abraham and everything. So
Which is this is I like this, and now it kind of we start seeing. I mean, we've been hearing about we're talking about Adam and Eve and these the 200 that came with the prince. I mean, in these instances in our religion in our history, we see that. But I want you to explain what are Melchizedek's, and I want you to tell us what impact he had on Abraham because he was really what from where Abraham took all of this information and that really started Judaism and what we now know. So tell us what is a Melchizedek and what happened all this time ago with Abraham.
okay, that's a big order.
I know.
So within the hierarchy of divine beings, let's just say
Hmm.
that, there there are many different orders, I guess. And
Yeah,
the Melchizedek order of beings, they have a lot of things that they can and do and accomplish within our local area of the universe, right?
yeah.
Um, they're most well known as the educators. And
Okay,
so
the
as we've
teachers.
heard, yeah, they're teachers.
Okay,
That's what they're most well known as. And that is his primary function when he was here. So the Melchizedek who came here is actually his name is Macaventa Melchizedek. There's many.
okay,
Melchizedek is the order of being,
yeah,
and his name is Macaventa.
okay,
And um, they often do, in cases of emergencies, bestow themselves on planets and things like that. That's part of their function, and that's what happened here. So he is a relatively higher order of being in our local area of the universe. Is probably he's a divinely created being.
okay,
So I guess it would be appropriate to call him a son of God,
okay.
not the son of God, a son of God. Right? There's a huge
Exactly.
difference there. Um, and what was the rest of your question? Sorry.
How
Yeah.
does that relate to Abraham? Because
Abraham, right? Yeah.
that's where
So
really the basis of the Judeo-Christian started. All this
right.
long time ago.
Yeah. So the thing about Abraham is that he came over from Mesopotamia and he had a lot of ambitions and he's settled in the area of where Melchizedek was, which was Salem at the time, which is Jerusalem now.
Hmm.
And he sort of set up camp and he knew about Melchizedek and he wanted to basically carve himself out a little bit of an empire.
Okay.
And he had relatives down in Egypt and he was well connected and he was well respected and he was quite a military guy. And it took a lot for Abraham or for Melchizedek to convince Abraham that he should be more interested in a spiritual kingdom than this little military kingdom that he was trying to carve out. And so Melchizedek had set up a school in
Okay.
Salem and he sent missionaries out all over Asia and Europe
Okay.
eventually, and this is a little bit later. Um, but Abraham came and was convinced and learned from Melchizedek. And that's where we get the Abrahamic religions from, is from
Okay.
Abraham sort of giving up this idea of carving himself out and establishing himself as a military king.
Okay.
And so the most profound thing with that relationship is this covenant that Melchizedek made with Abraham, which
Okay.
basically said that God will do absolutely everything, and all we have to do is believe,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, that's the
That's the
covenant
that's the
with God and
covenant.
Abraham. That the
Yes,
Jews, that's
right,
where Judaism really started. That's that
exactly. Yeah,
agreement. Yeah, that
yeah.
covenant.
And that's a specific covenant for our planet because on most planets there's a lot more required.
Okay.
But on our planet, because it's pretty messed up and
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff we don't know that most planets do know at this point in time.
In their evolution, in
That's
their particular
in there
evolution, right?
exactly, right? Um, that's the covenant that was made with us for our planet back in the days of Melchizedek. And that's all we have to do. We just have to believe in what we're being told by these sons of God who are coming to our planet
I
and
like that.
revealing God to us.
I like that. I like that.
It's pretty straightforward at, when
Yeah,
you boil it down to that, right? So,
exactly.
yeah.
And like we were saying, I think we're gonna have to do podcasts on each of these
Oh,
revelations
yeah.
just to dive into because there's a lot of stuff. But what I like about this, and like we were saying, that revelations compound. It's not that
Yeah.
one is substituting the other, but it's really compounding. And
Right.
I think with Abraham and Melchizedek, we had this covenant, and that's where we have all the Old Testament, and where we have Moses, and there's a very interesting story about Moses, and recently there's been a lot of shows, and all the trials and tribulations that the Israeli nation had to go through, because it was pure, I don't want to say purging, but it was purifying. Let's say that
Yeah.
it's throughout all these different challenges that they had to go through the desert, and get away from Egypt and all that. But we always see up to this point in history that we have a wrathful God. We have a God that has to, he's not, I don't want to say that he's not kind, but he's more of, okay, we have to get structure. We have to get justice. We have to, we have to organize this because it's a mess. So
Right.
we've kind of feared God. And then we have one of the revelations that well, if not the best revelation, or the one that we are most dear to, which is the one that Jesus brought, which is the fourth
Right.
revelation, and that is changing that nature of how we saw God as this wrathful and vengeful entity into a loving Father. He really revealed that nature of God, and really we became sons of God when Jesus came and taught us all this. So, and I
Right.
know that Jesus it's his own topic, but tell us a little bit more about this fourth revelation.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. We could spend like a whole week talking about this, but um like you said, each six like studying these bestowals and these revelations also shows us basically the evolution of our understanding of God
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than any change in God who is actually changeless, right?
yeah,
It basically illustrates how we understand him. And
yeah,
so as young children, you see a stern father sometimes, right? And you don't
yeah,
understand that.
yeah,
But as you grow up, you realize, well, actually, your father isn't probably as stern as you think, and he actually really loves you, and that's the center of it all, right? And
yeah.
that's really what's showing as we progress in our understanding of God. And it was a really watershed change in our
Hmm.
understanding of God and his nature when Jesus came.
Okay.
And if we want to tie that in with the preparation that Melchizedek made in terms of this covenant,
Hmm.
the covenant that Melchizedek made is that all you have to do is believe and God will do everything. When Jesus came, he said, well, yes, um, belief will get you in the door. But if you want to stay in, you
Yeah.
need to exercise that belief and turn it into faith,
Oh, I love that.
active faith, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, we have this building on previous things that have been said and greater understanding. The balloon kept getting inflated more and more and more, and we were able to encompass more and more of reality and understand it better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the revelation that Jesus gave us of the Father,
Yeah.
um, it changed everything,
Yeah.
didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. That really sets the tone. And everybody says, oh, it's the gospel, but really when you define the gospel, it's really the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. Once we understand that, understand that we're brothers and that we have one father. And I had an experience, and we'll probably talk about this later, but I was saved by that. I was in a situation where I had to recognize my brother. And once I saw that, I understood that my brother would only do right for me and would love me and wouldn't take me into harm's way. My true brother, I understood, and that was an interesting situation. But that's like a mathematical conclusion where you say, okay, if we're brothers, then therefore we're coming from the same father, and that when we recognize ourselves as brothers, we kind of validate the existence of our heavenly Father, right?
That's right. And that's our first step. Once we recognize that among ourselves,
Yeah,
and then recognize that among groups of us, and then recognize that on a whole planetary scale, then it's our turn to start recognizing that on an interplanetary scale.
yeah,
We are all sons of God, no matter where we live, who we are. We're all brothers under the and sisters under the fatherhood of God, no matter where we are, no matter what planet we're on. I mean, we're at the point now where we have to start thinking like that.
yeah. And it doesn't matter how many defaults or rebellions, or the plan of God is keeps on moving. And even though we have these instances where maybe nothing, or not all things are going to plan, eventually it'll fix. And that's like that's very comforting for me, to say. I mean, that's there's interaction in the personal level that you have to do. I mean, there's
Yeah.
that interaction with God that you have to have, and that personal relationship with God. But as you bring that love, and you start having that brotherly love and that brotherly affection and that brotherly altruism with the rest of our brethren, is really when we start bringing heaven on earth, right?
And that's the goal. That's the goal, right? I
Exactly.
mean, our goal as the Father has commanded is be you perfect even as I am perfect. And
Yeah.
that applies to us individually as people, and it applies to us as a civilization, a
Yeah.
planetary civilization.
Yeah.
That is our goal, heaven
Awesome.
on earth. And
Awesome. Well,
it's co-creative, right? It's a
the,
co-creative effort.
and that's what I like. And I mean, that's another topic that we can discuss a lot, about the concept of the supreme. That we're all
Yeah,
this aggregate, that we're contributing, and that we're co-creating in this relationship with God and with all the different celestial and local agencies in improving and getting being perfect as God is perfect, as He commanded. That's His
that's
will.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.